And hello everybody, and welcome to this next part in the Top 11 video tutorial series. In this video, we are going to talk about formations. We're going to discuss the most common formations, and we're going to talk about counter formations which you can use against other managers. The formation which I'm using here is the 4-2-2-2 hexagon. That's my personal favorite. It's mildly popular. It's probably not in the top 5, but there certainly are managers that use it. Basically, it plays similar to a 4-4-2, except the AML and the AMR instead of an ML and an MR. So it's a little more offensive than a 4-4-2, but I find it's very effective as long as my wing players are good. If my wing players are not good, then this formation will not work, since these guys are kind of essential to running this. So, what are the most common formations you'll see in top 11? I'd say the most common would be just a standard 4-4-2. And it's very popular because it's very balanced. It doesn't have any obvious weaknesses. You can't attack it in any particular spot. And it's not overly defensive, so you can score goals. You need good midfielders to run this formation, but you also have to have an ML and an MR. I don't have that, so I can't run this formation effectively. The second most popular formation, I would think, would be this here. This is called the narrow diamond. And the narrow diamond is very, very popular for those who like to attack through the middle. It's also good defensively because you have 5 players on your end of the field. And it just seems to do really well in the game. So if you're kind of starting out, you're not really sure what to do, one of those two is definitely a good starting point, since they're not overly skewed towards either offense or defense. They're pretty balanced. So it's definitely pretty good with most teams. With this, you need a DMC, an AMC. I don't have a DMC, so I cannot run this. The other very popular formation, which you see on many teams, is called the 4-5-1-V, which looks like that. 4-5-1 with a V right there. This is probably the best pure defensive formation in the game. You want to attack through the flanks, but it's still mostly a defensive formation. I would definitely use this if I don't have good strikers, or if my opponents are clearly better than I am, and all I care about is countering their formation, or I just want to keep the game as low scoring as possible. So when I feel I have a better team, I probably don't want to run this. If I feel they have a better team, then I would usually run this if I can. And again, this isn't a formation that's available to me because I don't have a DMC. So I'll put my guys back in their standard formation for now. Now, as you can see here, 2 of the most popular formations require DMC, and I don't have one. So let that be a lesson to you when you're building your team. Figure out what you want to play and then build your team accordingly. This is my favorite formation, so I knew in advance this is what I wanted to play. So I built a lineup that I could run this. I made sure I got a quality AML, a quality AMR, and that I had these guys all can play. If I wanted to run a diamond, I would have invested in a DMC. However, it's advisable that you keep a player like that available. Any people who can play on multiple levels are very valuable. This guy plays 3 positions, but it's all on the same line. He can play anywhere on this line. However, some players can play DMC and DC, so they can play in here, anywhere. And that's very valuable because if a DMC DC player, I can put him here if I want to run a V or a diamond, and if he's really good, I can put him back here if I want to run a hexagon. So guys that can play on 2 lines are very valuable. There are also guys who can play AML and ML, or AMR and MR. If I had 2 of those, I could play 4-4-2 or a hexagon. Another through the middle formation, which is pretty common, just going to go purely Offensive is a 4-3-3. It's purely offensive through the middle. Its weakness is long passes on defense. But you certainly can survive with this if you have a good midfield and good strikers, and you don't give up too many goals. You can certainly generate a lot of offense with this, but that's not too common. So now let's talk about counter formations. What exactly is a counter formation? Well, if I line up in a hexagon, then there is some way to optimize your lineup to defeat it. Every formation has a counter formation. It's just a question of whether or not you want to play it. Now, there's a table of these on the Top 11 forum, and I have it open right here, and I'll provide a link in the description so you can go here yourself. We'll start by just kind of briefly skimming it. Notice you see a lot of diamond formations here. You also will see a lot of V, 4-5-1-V, 4-5-1-V, 4-5-1-V. And if you go lower, you'll see 4-4-2 in several places as well. So what does this mean? That means that that's a good indication that those are very versatile formations. As I said before, they don't have any obvious weaknesses, so they're very versatile. And this chart kind of confirms that. So if your opponents are playing this, you want to try to play something on this side. So if we look at just the 4 common ones which I mentioned, we'll start with my formation, the hexagon. The counters are these. So if I see my opponent is playing a V, then I try not to play my hexagon. I'll try to play something else. Against a standard 4-4-2, again, the V, very good defensive formation. And you can see that they're quite similar, 4-4-2 and the 4-2-2-2 hexagon. It's almost the same counter formation. So when I said earlier that the hexagon and the 4-4-2 are similar, this chart kind of confirms that. If we look at the V, the counters are these guys. So the 4-3-3, if you can run that, is good against the V because you can overpower them through the middle. And since you're not using the outside, then their outside guys aren't going to really bother you that much. And then as for the diamond, it's actually up here. Again, the V is the counter to the diamond. So what can we gather from this? Well, since you see 4-5-1-V on so many lines, that tells you that it's a wonderful defensive formation. And really, the way you counter it is by overpowering offensively, or just guarding your flanks like this, and putting a lot of guys in the middle. So that seems to make sense. And a lot of these formations you're not going to see very often. So, I'm not going to get guys to play a 3-5-2-V, just in case somebody plays that, because it's very unlikely somebody will play that. I just want to make sure that I have a counter against the most common formations, and the rest can kind of take care of themselves. So, the way you would go about this, if you see what your opponent's playing, you just simply set it. Not hard. And that will do it for this part. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you again for the next part. Have a great day.